प्रथमे नार्जिता विद्या, द्वितीये नार्जितं धनम, tritiye narjitam punyam, chaturthe kim karishyati. One who has not earned vidya in the first part of life or ashrama, that is brahmacharya. One who has not earned wealth in second ashrama, that is grihastha. One who has not earned punya in third ashrama, that is vanaprastha. What will he do in the fourth ashrama, that is sannyasa? The Sanskrit shloka reinforces the fact that a happy and content life is an outcome of a proper planning, and those who plan well will turn up to be the ultimate leader. I know citing adequate examples brings an edge to any statement, but it is rightly said, Pratyaksha kim pramanam. As our next speaker is a perfect example of the fact conveyed through this shloka. Our next speaker today is one such leader who is a true example of the traits required to live an ideal personal and professional life, and I consider this a privilege to introduce him. An ICT industry veteran, Honorable Shri Manoj Chug, over the last 37 years, managed and led businesses to achieve pole position across technology and services domains. His experience spans diverse business segments, including system integration, satellite communications, networking, information infrastructure, and global IT services. He has worked extensively with both Indian and global measures. Starting his career with HCL and then moving to Wipro, where he has worked for 14 years, he switched gears and worked with global high-tech firms, Cisco Systems and EMC as their president for the India and SAARC region, and subsequently as a regional president, Global Accounts Asia Pacific. Prior to leading Mahindra Group's public affairs, Sir Manoj was the president enterprise business for Tech Mahindra, where he was helping customers across 70 global markets to leverage digital disruption for business success. In the past, Manoj sir was also the regional president for EMC Asia Pacific, where he led their global accounts. Sir is credited with being a pioneer of internet revolution in India. Under his dynamic leadership, India witnessed the birth and creation of over 1 lakh networking professionals who drove India's march to leadership in the connected world in the 2000s. Sir Manoj has been bestowed with several industry accolades. He has been recognized as one of the top 10 people to have shaped the last decade of the Indian IT industry by DataQuest. Amity bestowed him with the Leadership Award for Excellence in the IT sector. He is also the recipient of the Business Wizard of the Year 2013 award from VAR India. In the past, Manoj sir has also been awarded the best IT man of the year by the National Foundation of Indian Engineers and conferred an honorary fellowship of the E-Information Systems Security and Audit Association besides other laurels. Sir Manoj has also been on the executive board of the American Chambers of Commerce in India for 6 years and was its vice chairman. He also served as chairman for SNIA, that is Storage Networking Industry Association, India. We wholeheartedly welcome this alumnus of Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, and with humble submission, we hand over this virtual platform to you, sir. Welcome to this digital space. This digital space is all yours, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Nutan. Namaskar to all of you. Thank you very much for your very, very charitable introduction. For a moment, I didn't know who you were talking about. And if you're not introduced my name, it would have been tough. So I'm truly grateful. I'm truly honored for this very, very, I would say, touching, and I'm sure you can make out, I have lots of words, very touching words that you've shared about me. If, with your permission, I'd like to take this opportunity to share with everyone today that I'd like this to be an interactive session, because I think that that is where we are all going to see the most value. There is nothing new that I'm going to tell you, which you would not have known, you would not have heard. Very other distinguished leaders who've been talking to you would not have shared. But still, I think given the topic and given the fact that we are in a panel discussion, I will perhaps share a few opening comments, a few thoughts, a few ideas, and then really open this up. So this is an opportunity for us to have a heart-to-heart chat. We all know that we are in very, very difficult times. We know we are in challenging times. We know these are times which humanity has never seen before. And therefore, there are many questions that each one of us may have. There will be anxieties, and of course, there will be hopes, expectations. And at the end of the day, we are all looking forward to that ray of sun, which is going to shine on our lives as we go forward in the future. So again, great honor, great pleasure for me to be with you here this morning. Thank you very much for inviting me. And let me take a quick minute as I begin to first of all thank all our frontline warriors who've been braving the brunt of this invisible enemy with great strength and fortitude. I'm sure that all of you will join me in truly raising a toast for these heroes. We are in challenging times, and the good news is that over the last many months, we have all learned to live with the very, very interesting, I would say, compatriot that we have who has changed all our lives. And hopefully, this art of living with Corona has taught us many lessons and will perhaps change the way we think, we act, we work, we live, we play, and we learn. And hopefully the great progress that we are seeing happening on the vaccine front, I'm sure all of you have read the front page of the newspapers today. With that, I do believe that the worst is going to be behind us, but still we need to be careful because there is a bit of a long haul before all of us will be fully safe. I know that all of you have adjusted very, very well to this brave new virtual world. So I'd like to congratulate you as well for very quickly moving from an era where you were in physical classrooms, where you were jostling for space, jostling for a seat, perhaps at the front of the class, or where some of us like to sit at the back of the class. Now we've moved to a very different scenario where we are in virtual environments. We are not able to physically touch and feel our friends and put our arms around their shoulders, but yet we continue to learn and we continue to imbibe all the education that we truly wanted. So I want to congratulate all of you for accepting the virtual world with open arms. And you are very, very good examples, each one of you, on how we have survived well and are thriving in COVID times. As they say, there is always a silver lining. And corporate India too has taken many steps, and perhaps with the rightful focus on employees, particularly their health and safety. As you know, and you would have seen this maybe with your parents, maybe with other folks at home, older siblings, thousands of employees today are working from home. And I can tell you this has been unprecedented. When I speak to many senior executives across government, across the corporate and private sector, many of them in private share with me as to how they have learned new tools on their own, collaborative tools, where earlier they thought that perhaps that was beyond their ability to engage and interact in such a fashion. And they've become so comfortable now that they're setting up their own virtual meetings, they're inviting friends, they're scheduling using different tools, and they're looking forward to it even beyond the pandemic, because they believe their ability to network has increased manifold because of this digital medium. So we have seen for the very first time how in an unprecedented fashion, teams across organizations have rallied together better than ever before. And I would also like to say that for white collar workers, productivity is at its best. And it's absolutely amazing because people have converted their commute time to their work time. It's truly been a net gain. Of course, when people ask me the question, what about work-life balance? I think that's an area where people frankly are still trying to grapple with finding a solution. Because when does work end and when does home begin? One of my colleagues turned around and said that the moment he walks out of his home office, he announces to the family, I am home. And, I have stopped by home for lunch. Or in between breaks, when he steps out into the kitchen, he tells the family, well, I'm just out for a coffee break and I'll be back in my office. So I think each one of us is finding our own ways of trying to define the perimeter of what is work and what is home. But the good news is that because commute times have vanished, we've all become much more productive. And I said, we believe that these collaborative tools which we have learned will help us even post the pandemic. I also think there have been some other very big positives. One that I certainly see around me is the tremendous focus on helping communities. People have opened their hearts, whether it's in terms of support, sharing food, whether it is in terms of providing financial support. Many of us have come out to support the less fortunate. We have all recognized how we are a part of one single planet, how we are a part of one single community, and how we have to help each other in difficult times. So I think people have learned the art of giving, which I see as a very, very big positive through this period of COVID. I also recognize, while I sound like an optimist, that a lot of businesses have suffered. Entire sectors have come to a grounding halt. Such cross-industry mayhem has perhaps never been seen before. And yet we see a glimmer of hope. Yet we truly believe that things will be back. The form, factor, and fashion in which they will be back may be different from what it was prior to the pandemic. But then this is the opportunity to relearn, to rejuvenate, and then, of course, to make sure that we reinvigorate ourselves for greater success. A lot of people ask me, what is coming back going to look like? Is it going to be the same? Are we going to go back to our water coolers and have those conversations all huddled together? Or is going back going to be different? Clearly, businesses will reboot and re-architect. Physical businesses have started embracing digital, and the digital ones will find even newer ways to engage with their customers. While there will be many changes in how we physically lay out offices, how people come back to work, how we embrace technology in a far more aggressive fashion as compared to what we have done in the past, one thing certainly that will not change is the expectation of sustained outperformance. And whether you are studying like many of you are today, or whether you're in the workplace, that expectation is not going to change. So while you're studying, it is going to be about getting better grades. Folks at home are not going to forgive you if your grades drop. When you start applying for jobs, which I'm sure many of you will be, sooner or later, people are going to look at your grades and assess whether the time that you spent studying and educating yourself was worthwhile and whether you delivered superior performance. Or when you start working in the business environment, the question that everyone will want to ask you and want to measure you by is, are you delivering value and are you accountable for tangible outcomes? So irrespective of where you are, the expectation is going to be that each one of us has to deliver sustainable outperformance. So irrespective of times, it is important that we have a deep-rooted understanding of one fundamental factor. And I'm going to shift gears a little bit here and talk about some behaviors which I think are going to be invaluable and which will help you in your journey of life. Each one of us has to have an individual purpose. We are born for a certain cause. We are born to achieve a certain goal. And each one of us in our heart of hearts knows what that goal is. And perhaps we will spend the rest of our lives in pursuing that core purpose. Our core purpose of some people, and you've got faculty members here, is how do they make sure that they create a new generation of incredibly bright young professionals. And that could be the purpose. It's a journey of teaching and learning and enlightenment. Somebody else's core purpose may be in terms of helping people in communities, helping create livelihoods. That could be a core purpose. Somebody else's core purpose could be in terms of trying to help society to get rid of its scourge and so many negatives that exist. Someone else's core purpose could be in terms of creating wealth so that we can improve the standards of living of everyone around us. So each one of us has a core purpose. Each one of us needs to follow our heart. But as we do that, there are certain, if I could say, pivots, or there are certain lighthouses, what I call leadership behaviors, which could perhaps help you in your journey and in terms of the path that you chart out for yourselves. And I think it's going to become increasingly important as we pursue our purpose with great passion, with great energy, that we nourish our core values. And we do that perhaps by learning, improving, imbibing, and accepting some of these core behaviors. Let me begin by sharing what these 5 leadership behaviors are. Many of us know that conventional thinking defines people as either being left-brained or right-brained. Now, left-brained people are those who focus on logic and rationale, and right-brained are those who are focused on empathy, intuition, have high emotional quotient, are good in the arts and literature and music and so on. When you start talking about leadership behaviors, it is not about being left-brained or right-brained. In the future, it is going to be about our ability to use the whole brain. Well-rounded professionals will stand to gain immensely if they bring the benefits, the characteristics of the right brain and left brain together so that they can go and achieve their core purpose. So therefore, please remember that you all need to learn to use your whole brain. So that is the first leadership behavior. The second one is to be a multiplier. To be a multiplier means your ability to do more with less. To become a multiplier means you become a multiplier in terms of passion, energy, engagement. You co-create value. You don't follow a dictatorial style. That is being a diminisher. So the second important leadership behavior is to be a multiplier. If you're a multiplier, that will help you to achieve your own core purpose. The third is managing fear and leveraging failure. We all are human beings. We do have our fears. We all know that in our journey of life, we're not going to be successful in everything that we do. But leadership really expects us to take risks, be innovative, and importantly, to learn quickly from the failure. It is important that you create the feedback loops so that you can manage your failure, so that you can manage your fear, leverage failure for long-term success. The fourth one is very interesting. This is called mindfulness. And I'm sure you would have had many gurus come and talk to you about living in the moment. We need to be open to the possibilities that exist in each moment. Many of us become prisoners of the past. We start talking about the past. We live in the past. We revel in the past. I think it is important that we live in the present. So do not be a prisoner of the past. Creativity comes from the awareness of possibilities that exist today, the possibilities that exist in every moment. And if one is not mindful, one will not know what those possibilities are. So you need to be mindful of what is happening around you. Be here and with an open mind, embrace the opportunities that you see. The last but not least of all is trust. How do you make sure that you build a culture of trust? How do you make sure you enable and you create a culture of trust? And that is about a very simple mantra of saying, doing, thinking, and these should be aligned. So what you say and what you do and what you think should all be aligned. Last but not least of all, we must believe in the dharma of seva. As long as we are focused on the dharma of seva, we know that we're going to be on the right path and we will achieve our own core purpose. Many of you will soon be jumping into the whirlpool of life, and I'm sure that there is a palpable sense of excitement and perhaps yet some nervousness. The future is, of course, unknown and uncertain. But what you do today, in a way, will determine what will happen tomorrow. There will be anxious moments. It's all not going to be a smooth ride. But your own core values and your own beliefs will be the North Star that will take you in the right direction. My last message to you is do not fall for temptation, because that is what you will deeply regret in the years ahead. And let your character shine. And what you are doing today in your college, the way you engage with all your faculty members and your friends, help you to build that character. I want to share a true story, which happened with me when I was in college. And there are many lessons which I learned from that, which I've never forgotten. And this is a story from 40 years ago, so story from the past. But it had important lessons which helped me in my journey of life. I was about to graduate out. It was the final year. And like it happens in every college, a lot of firms were coming in to hire and offer jobs. And you know that that is perhaps the most exciting part of being in campus, because you get an opportunity for those of you who are looking to work in the corporate world or in other organizations. Those are the seasons that you look forward to, the hiring seasons at campus. Our hiring season was about to come to an end. And, there was a sense of nervousness with some of my classmates who were not that fortunate to get a job early in the season. And some of us had a few final interviews left over. So we were still hanging around there, making sure or hoping that we would get our appointment letters, and then we would write a letter home and say, look, I got this fantastic job and I'm all set. And at the end of the season or at the end of my class, I'll take a few weeks break and then I start my life and I jump into the whirlpool of life and I'm going to start my career. But as I said, some of my colleagues were less fortunate and we were coming to the end of the season. I think it was almost the last or the second last day. And there was one final interview which was left over. I had a couple of offers which were baking. I didn't have the letter in hand, but I was confident that I would get the letter. But there was a classmate of mine who had not got any kind of confirmation from anyone that he could get a job. So both of us decided to go for the final interview. Both of us had been shortlisted for this firm, and it was in another city. So we took a train, and my friend, just before we were about to hop on the train, said, Manoj, I've got the call for another interview. So can you go for this one? I will come a little later. We had to travel about 3 hours away. And can you hold fort for me till I come back? I said, don't worry, I'm going to hold fort for you. You make sure that you do well in this other interview where you have to give your final interview. I will take the train. I will go on. I'll wait for you. And don't worry, do your best here. And then we will see what happens at the other end. So I reached the city. I landed up at the office. They asked me, hey, there were 2 of you supposed to come. How come you're the only one? And I said, no, this other colleague of mine had something which came up suddenly. And, he's going to be here. Don't worry. And I'm going to wait for him. So I'm not going anywhere either. So they figured out that since my friend would take quite some time to come, they could take their time on the interview. So they made me wait. And then my turn for the interview came. At that time, I was totally uncertain whether my friend would have got the job, before he took the train and came to the city. I didn't know because there were no cell phones. There was no way I would know. So I went in and I told myself that, look, I think I will get a job for sure because I was confident of the final interviews that I had given. I knew I would get the letters. It was a matter of time. And so in the interview, I just behaved totally dumb. Every question they asked me, I answered wrong, or I answered vague, or I just made, as you would say, an idiot of myself. So they kept interviewing me for an hour and a half. And at the end of that, I felt incredibly proud of myself that I think I have goofed up enough not to get the job. Because I just wanted to make sure that my friend, who perhaps I was uncertain of whether got a job or not, at least I save one for him. And around 8 in the evening, he turned up. He was totally hassled. He said, Manoj, bad news. I have not made it in that other interview either. I said, don't worry. This job is yours. Believe me, it is yours. Just be normal. You don't have to stress yourself. Just be cool. And you're going to get it. I can assure you, you will get it. I've been interviewed by the guys. They ask simple questions. You're just going to make it. So, he collected himself calmly, and then he went for the interview. And an hour and a half later, 2 hours later, his interview went very, very well. He came out. He was very pleased. He said, Manoj, I knew everything. I said, fantastic. 15 minutes later, the CEO of the organization came out, and he looked at the two of us. He was very nice, very polite. I can still remember his face, and he said, gentlemen, thank you very much. We've enjoyed, spending the evening with you. And he said that, but I just want to share with you that, Manoj, unfortunately, we will not be able to take you. And then they congratulated my friend and said, we'd like to spend some time with him. And I said, please, I'll wait at the reception for him. And that to me was the happiest day of my life. The story does not end here. 2 years later, I was at the airport and I was flying off to some destination. And I saw the same gentleman who had interviewed me for the job where I was not selected at the airport. We looked at each other. We, of course, recognized each other. I greeted him and I said, good evening, sir. Great pleasure to see you here. I hope you've been doing well. And he said, Manoj, I'm very, very happy to meet you as well. I hope you're doing well. I said, yes, sir, trying very hard. And then as we were crossing, because he was rushing and I was rushing, he said, Manoj, by the way, I just wanted to tell you one thing. I said, yes, sir. He said, that evening, I had 2 jobs and not one. And I just smiled because I thought that I was a smarter one, that I was giving up the job so that I could save my friend. And all the time as he was interviewing me, he knew that I was play acting. He knew that I was not answering because I was so keen for my friend to get the job. But I think these are lessons which help us in life, that when you believe you're more fortunate and you have the opportunity, no matter how tempting things are, you must learn to share. You must learn to give up, because that is what will truly make you happy in the long term. I have spoken about 25 minutes, and that's what I had thought I would do, speak for 25 minutes. I'd like to take this opportunity to open this up to a question and answer session. I know that many of your friends have done a lot of research, so you got lots of questions. So guys, over to you. And thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, sir. It was indeed, means these 25 minutes were the gist of your life. I think that means the lessons which we cannot learn throughout our life were shared in just 20 minutes. So these were, we all were mesmerized and stuck up with the screen listening to you. because we could not afford to miss even a single bit of it. And we just wanted that it could go on and on, but because you have been emphasizing that you want to interact with the students, and equally my students too are quite desperate to talk to you. They have been doing so much of research from the very day one, when they learned that they will have an opportunity to interact with you. They were looking for your interviews, looking for your YouTube lectures and all. So I would first of all like to invite Nivedita. Nivedita, if you are there, I would request you to unmute yourself and turn your video on so that you can ask the very first question. She is the one who has worked very hard to know more and more about you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very
She
much.
always kept on talking to me, ma'am, sir has done this, sir has done that. I said, yes, you keep on your journey. Yes. So Nivedita, if you're there, you could please turn your video on. Can you hear me, Nivedita?
Ma'am, my video is turned on if you could see me.
Yeah. Now we can see you.
Yes. A very pleasant good morning, sir. It was great listening to you. Great listening to you. Thank you. Sir, I am Nivedita and I am a third year student of BA English Honours at Amity University, Patna. So, as ma'am said that I have been listening to your interviews and watching your videos on YouTube. So in one of the interviews, or I would say it was a day out with you, you showed that how small your office is. And when asked for the reason for the same, you said that it was just to save space in the building. And then it was an open office. Anybody could enter into it. So my question is that despite being such an eminent personality, you never cut short on your humbleness. So my question is that what message do you have for people who who don't find it necessary to hone their soft skills because they are excellent in their hard skills?
Nivedita, thank you very much for, first of all, taking the time to see the videos. And I'm truly touched and I'm truly humbled by what you have done. I think we all have our own philosophies of life, and everything, basically depends on how you have been, the culture, how you've grown up, what's been your family background, what you have endured, what touches you. And I think one thing that I realized as I was growing up is the importance of making sure that, and God has created us all equal, right? I think sometimes some of us are just a bit luckier than others, but we've all been created equal. And you will find that even in your college, in your class, many brilliant students around you. So I think each one of us is blessed in different ways. Each one of us is talented in different ways. And I felt that if you truly have to succeed, you have to accept diversity, a diversity of thought, diversity of opinion, diversity of intellect. You must see everyone's point of view, because it is only then that you make the right decisions. So my whole journey of life has been about embracing different thoughts, different ideas. And the only way you can do it is if you have an open heart and an open mind. And I felt that the physical manifestation of an open heart and an open mind is an open office. So therefore, you're right. Thank you for noticing that. So I always keep my doors open. They've always been open. I mean, unless there is some call which is very confidential, I'll close the door for a few minutes, but I feel claustrophobic in an office where the door is closed. So I like to keep an open door. Anyone can walk in anytime. In fact, many of my colleagues used to say that your office resembles a college common room because everyone just keeps coming in. And because my offices are typically very small, they'll sit on the ledge, they will sit somewhere, or they will just hang around outside, cling on to the door. So it's okay. So, I deal with everyone one by one, and that kind of the energy is very high, right? Because if you've got in a small space, lots of people, the energy levels are very high. And you get lots of good ideas, thoughts, debates, discussion. And I always have a whiteboard. So somebody will keep writing or I'll keep writing. So if somebody is writing on the whiteboard, then the person next to him has to sit down because there's so little space. But I think that's what makes it incredibly interesting and exciting. So I think, one needs to be open. And that's my suggestion to everyone who's listening to me, make sure that you have an open heart, an open mind, accept diversity, embrace diversity. All of us are equal. You know, my father, for example, never used the family surname. You know, we don't believe in these caste systems and all of these artificial, you know, creations of man. They are not helpful at all. So be open and embrace ideas. Make sure that you're inclusive. Diversity is very, very important. And I think I would also like to say, Nivedita, that women bring a lot of very good thoughts, ideas, and women bring a lot of strength. As I'd say that the same is true at home, the same is true in the office. So I think if we create an open environment, we are going to get a lot of positivity.
Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. I'm
Nivedita,
highly elated and grateful. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Nivedita, if in case you
Yes.
want to understand Honorable Manoj Chug, sir, there is one sloka in Bhagavad Gita that simply explains the characteristics, the values of Honorable Sir. Manah prasada saumyatvam maun matma vinigraha bhava sanshuddhirtetapo man samuchyate. Sir is very simple, very high in gravity and integrity. He has a very high self-control and purity of heart. And it is indeed real great morning for all of us that we have been getting opportunity to listen to Honorable Sir.
So kind of you,
Yes.
Professor. I mean, you are very,
Indeed.
very, you've been very kind with your words. I'm truly honored.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. This was indeed, I think that Nivedita's question was rightly answered. And I believe that sir led a very strong foundation where he spoke about making a unique blend between the left brain and the right brain. So he started this conversation with making a unique blend of hard skill and the soft skills as well. So sir has answered this question right from the beginning, and there lies the very essence. Our Provisor sir has always been mentioning that sir is very down to earth. So you'll find this in his, and I think that yes, every bit of it. While I was reading this profile of sir, and it was every single word was meant for sir, and then sir says sir just kept himself isolated with that. I could understand the very essence of why sir kept on saying me that he's very down to earth. He'll never say you to speak too much about him, but you just carry on. Taking this ahead, we have another student. I am flooded with the questions in my chat box, and I don't know how many I'll be able to take up, but I just want to invite Jayant. Jayant is another very good student who is quite inquisitive and quite desperate to talk to sir. Jayant, if you are there around, can you please?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, is my video visible?
Yes.
Yes.
A very good morning, sir.
Yes,
I am
yes,
Jayant.
Jayant, very much.
A very good morning, sir. I am Jayant Kumar from MIT Institute of English Studies and Research. So my question is, despite being unique in our own ways, we are all necessarily humans and mankind is our ultimate religion. So, sir, what, according to you, should be everybody's one general responsibility as a member of human race?
I think that while we are selfish by nature, and there's nothing wrong in being selfish, one should also basically ask oneself and reflect on where or how do you believe you can serve the community. And I think that is when you will truly feel very satisfied. It is all about seva. So where is it that you believe you can contribute to the society while you continue to pursue your own selfish goals? There is nothing wrong in terms of creating wealth for oneself, for one's family. There is nothing wrong in terms of pursuing materialistic goals. That is the very nature of human life itself. You want greater comforts, you want greater creature comforts, and there's nothing wrong in pursuing that. But while you do that, where is it that you believe you can leave your footprints in the sands of time? And I think that is something you need to ask yourself. And many people do it differently. I have had friends who are animal lovers, who will just go and take care of stray dogs. There are people, for whom education is close to their heart, so they will go into slums and pursue that. There are people, who believe that they want to care for the ill and for the less infirm, and they will spend their time there. So I think you need to pick and choose what truly motivates you. Don't follow somebody else. Don't go doing something because somebody else is doing it, or because your grandfather did it, or because your uncle did it, or because some of your classmates are doing it. Pursue what you think is right. It could be about just saving the environment. So you might turn around and say, look, I just want to go and grow more and more trees and plants. It could be that. So whatever it is, follow your heart. Make sure that you contribute to the community, because at the end of the day, that will give you tremendous satisfaction, while you continue to pursue your materialistic goals.
Thank you so much, sir. It was really enlightening.
Care for the community.
Dharma of Seva was another very strong message conveyed by Sir right now, right in the beginning. Thank you so much, Sir. We have another student who is waiting in the queue. Priyanka, if you are there around, can you please turn your video on, and you can put your question to Sir humbly. You need to unmute yourself, Priyanka. Priyanka, you need to unmute yourself.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Hello, is my video visible, ma'am?
Are you logged in by 2 devices? Yes, you are visible very much.
Okay. A very good afternoon, sir, and everyone present here. I am Priyanka Krishna of MBA Department, Amity University, Patna. Sir, there must be numerous goals which you have had set for the company, and accomplishments achieved under your direction are obviously evident of the fact that they have been successfully achieved. So, sir, my question to you is, besides workplace, may we get to know what are the aims that you have set to achieve for your personal growth?
My goal, and thank you very much, Priyanka, for asking that question. And I think it's a very profound question. I think whenever you kind of get a role, irrespective of what it is, the fundamental goal should be to make sure that you do your very best and you deliver on the expectations. It's like when you're in college, right, or in school. Everyone at home has an expectation on how you should be performing, what your grades should look like. As I said earlier, the same applies to the workplace as well. So how do you make sure that you are actually delivering superior performance? And I think that is something which has always motivated. And I'll tell you a true story. And I've got many stories, but I think we are short of time. But let me tell you this. So there was an organization which I started working in 2000. I'll tell you two stories. In 2003. And when I joined this organization, it was very small. I mean, there were hardly any revenue. And I remember that I had this conference room, and you will laugh at this, Priyanka. The conference room was 30 square foot, which means that if a wide-framed guy like me sat in that, there was one other guy who could fit in. There was a whiteboard, and then no third person could come in. But that was my luxurious conference room. So my colleague, who also I had hired, had joined in new. He came in and he was trying to share with me how our competitors have huge mind share. And he had got a lot of newspapers, magazines, and he was showing me and saying, look, Manoj, in this article, all our competitors are there. Our name is not there. Look here, look there. So he was basically trying to challenge me and saying that, look, we have a lot of work to do. The market even doesn't know us. If the market doesn't know us, how will customers invite us? How will they buy from us and so on? And so he said, so Manoj, what is your goal? And I said, look, my goal is to be the market leader. And he said, fantastic. So when do you think you will be a market leader? He said, so what is your current market position? I said, my current market position is that I don't have a position. And that was true because, when you look at market shares and you're an MBA student, So you will have the top 3 or 4 firms, right, which show up in the pie chart. And then all the rest, where do they go, Priyanka? They go into a little pie called others. So there is the number 1 player, number 2 player, number 3 player, number 4 player, and all the rest are others. So he said, so Manoj, now we are in others. You say you want to be market leader. How long do you think, it'll take before we become a market leader? And I said, you know what? We will appear in the pie chart as our own name within 18 months. And in 24 months, we will be number 1. He looked at me. He thought I was drunk. I told him I'm absolutely sane. I don't drink. I said, I'm absolutely convinced we will do it. And he said, you're sitting in this cubby hole. Have you walked out and seen what is the infrastructure your competitors have? I said, yeah, I know my competitors have millions of square foot of office space. I know my competitors have thousands of customers. I know that the media keeps writing about my competitors. I know that nobody knows me. Nobody knows where my office is. Nobody, kind of even knows the work that we do. But I'm telling you, in 18 months, you will see our name. In 24 months, we'll be number 1. And Priyanka, believe me, in 18 months, we were number 2. 24 months, we were number 1. And then I was with that firm for 10 years. And we were number 1 all the 10 years thereafter. So barring the first 2 years. So when I started, we were nobody, we were others. 18 months later, we were number 2. 24 months later, we were number 1. And thereafter, we were number 1 forever and ever. So the day I left that organization, when I was leaving, my colleagues called me and said that we have got these awards, from all the previous 8 years when we were number 1. And, we want to take a photograph so that you can take this photo back with you. So the reality is that you have to be very clear. You have to have tremendous passion. You have to have self-belief. If you believe in it, it will happen. Believe me, always it does. Many times we lack self-confidence. We think it's just too hard. It can't be done. And then the whole team has to believe in your dream. Everyone should say, no, we can do it. We know how to do it. And we'll keep working. And hard work, Priyanka, 18 hours of hard work, 20 hours of hard work. Never feel shy. Sleep in the office. I used to have colleagues who would sleep in the office. I would come next day morning, and because they were working at it, and then they would say, well, we haven't gone to sleep. Can we go home, get a few hours of sleep? And they would go, come back, and just keep working round the clock because you know that you have a mission. There's the other lesson which I had of another business. And that was another lesson which I want to share with you. Because you're an MBA student, these lessons will be useful to you and your friends. I took over a business which was making a loss for 10 years. And when I took on that business, I was given a simple goal. I was told double market share and make sure it's incredibly profitable in 12 months. So I said, you've given me a business where we've made a loss for 10 years. You want me to go and double the revenue, and you want me to make sure it's profitable. That's a difficult task. So I started understanding as to why we were making losses, where we had gone wrong. And I realized that I needed the help of one specific department very much if I were to make my business profitable. So I remember I went to the office of this senior colleague of mine. It was in another building. I sought time with him. I went to his office and I said, Ramesh, I have come here for help. And he says, Manoj, what help do you need? And I said, look, I need 1, 2, 3. If you can please help me, I think this will, do good for my business. And at the end, if it does good for my business, it's good for the firm. And he said, oh, Manoj, that's such a simple request. I mean, you didn't have to come. You could have just asked me on the phone. And I said, no, I wanted to come. I wanted to share with you what my plan is. I wanted to share as to why this is so important and why without your help, I'm not going to be successful. He offered me a nice cup of tea. I'll never forget that. This is from the 80s. So you can well imagine it's like going back more than 30 years. And then as I was getting up, I asked him a very simple question. I said, Ramesh, the request I have made to you, and you've exceeded without even blinking an eyelid. Why is it that you had not done this earlier? Because I was convinced that if he had done this earlier, the business would not have made the kind of loss it was. You know what he said, Priyanka? He said, Manoj, because nobody came to my office, sat across the table and made that request. So it was a great lesson of humility for me, that if you are humble, mountains will move. people will go out of their way to help you. When you sit with an ego and you say, no, I am the boss and everyone should come to me and everyone should prostrate before me and everyone should come and share how they can help the business because I am the boss, it's never going to work. You must always remember you're one of the members of the team. Whenever I have drawn the org structure, I've always shown myself at the bottom of the pyramid. That's how I draw my org structures. I don't start with the guy at the top and then draw the org structures. I reverse. So my name is right at the bottom. So these are lessons which you learn in life. And so each of the businesses, and I've been blessed and fortunate, Priyanka, to have led many businesses, to have helped them succeed. But my lessons were the same. My lessons were open mind, open heart. My lessons were lessons of humility, right? They were lessons of passion, of hard work, of making sure that you get the entire team to galvanize. Make sure that you don't win as an individual, win as a team. And that goes back, Priyanka, to actually my college days. So I want to go back as to how you begin in your college days and how it carries forward. So in my college, I used to do theater. And when I used to do theater, I used to direct and I used to produce. I used to act as well. And people used to ask me, Manoj, this time we are going for this competition. What is your goal? And I said, my goal is to win the award for the best play. They said, why do you not want to be the best director? Because sometimes I used to direct, or best producer because I was producing. And I said, no, the only goal that I want to achieve is best play, because best play means everyone wins. So yes, if some of our friends get the award as a best actor or actress, that's great, right? Or best supporting actor or best supporting actress, that's great. But what I truly want to achieve is that we must actually gun to get the best play. And many times we would succeed. And those used to be very, very happy moments, because then you win as a team. So I think it all begins from your time in college on how you kind of mold yourself, how you work with your friends, how do you collaborate, what are your aspirations? Do you want to just beat everyone and be number one? Or do you want the whole team to win? So you have to go back to your basics, right? So these are things which I felt happy about in college. When I started working, I said, now we need to win as a team, we need to succeed as a team, and let's do whatever we need to. And let us not stand on ego. So I know it's been a long-winded, I've shared several stories with you, but I thought that these are important lessons from my life, which will help perhaps some of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. It was really great listening to you. Thank you so much for enlightening us with your words.
Yes, sir. So from being included into others to get on the success ladder of being included into the market leader within a short span of time, that 18 months, this journey must have been an adventurous one, no doubt. And yes, it must have entailed a lot of hard work, but nothing worth having comes without hard work. So thank you so much for these stories do not only inspire my students. I think each one of us are being equally benefited with all these stories. Without wasting much time, I just invite another student, Miss Shangvavi. Sangvi, if you are there, can you please unmute yourself and turn your video on?
My video is on, if you can see it.
Yeah, we can, Shangvi.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, sir. My name is Shangvi Singh, and I'm pursuing MCA from MIT University, Patna. And sir, I'm really very inspired by your words, and I'm very glad that I'm here and I can ask a question from you. Sir, my question is, mental health has been one of the major concerns these days, and researchers show that it has been degraded in the period of lockdown to a very low level. So what do you feel about it, and what according to you are the main reasons for this?
Well, Sangvi, I think that sometimes when we see hopelessness around us, it impacts us mentally. And therefore, how do we make sure that we truly believe and are optimistic about human life itself and what the world has to offer to us? And it is not difficult for us to recognize and understand that, particularly over the last several months, it has been very, very difficult for many of us. I think one thing which I'd like to share with you, and I know that many people would have shared this with you already, but sake of repetition, I still want to, is that true happiness doesn't come from the outside. True happiness comes from within. And I think when we start chasing happiness outside and we find that that happiness is not really coming the way it was, it impacts us mentally. So I think the first thing is to recognize that happiness is within us. We control our own destiny. Whenever you have a very difficult problem facing you, the answers lie within yourself. You may listen to anyone. A lot of people may give you counsel, but you know that at the end of it, you will dive deep within to look for the answer. So I'd say that I'm not surprised because many of us love the external world. We are dependent on the external world. Many of us, and you would have seen this as well, when they are jogging or when they are walking and they are alone, they can't be alone. They're listening to music, they're doing something because they're just not able to converse with themselves. So I think it's very, very important for us to learn that let's start talking to ourselves. Let's start making sure that we look for answers within us. And the fact is, when you look for answers within you, you will always hear an optimistic answer that life will be good, things will be good. Temporary phenomenon happen. They always have. They've happened in different ways. And I've seen it in my career many, many times. You go through ups and downs, and there are many shocks, many surprises, many failures. And I think we just need to learn to deal with them. And I'll tell you a true story, Sangvi. I like to tell stories. So many years ago, I was in Calcutta, and we were in sales. So one day there was a very big deal, which one of my colleagues was pursuing, and he had lost the deal. And the deal was very important for our business. I mean, if he had won the deal, our revenue would have doubled. So I remember very distinctly, in those days, offices did not have air conditioning. We used to keep our windows open and hope that the cool breeze, would keep us going. Or we had maybe a couple of coolers or something like that in office. So it was early in the morning. It was around 8:30, 8:45. My colleague walked into office. Our boss was already there. And he had this wonderful habit where he would open the windows when he would come into office so that the fresh air would come in. So he was opening the windows, and my colleague went up to our boss and said that, "Boss, I have some terrible news to share with you." So boss casually looked at him and said, "Yes, Mr. Banerjee, tell me, what is it?" And he said, "Sir, we have lost this huge deal that we were pursuing, and we were really hoping to bring it in to double our revenues." My manager looked at my colleague and saw he was totally crestfallen. He was devastated. I don't think he slept in the night. He just somehow reached office. He wanted to tell the boss, and he just wanted to say that, "I don't know where I went wrong, but something has happened." And, it's almost like the end of the world was written on his face. My manager, as I said, was opening the windows. He looked up at the sky and he said, "Mr. Banerjee, you know what? The sky is still there. It has not fallen. Now go back to your table and let's work on the next deal." And it was the end of it. Just a very simple statement. He never got in and started saying, "Oh, I need to put you through an investigation. This is terrible. I don't think I can keep you on the team anymore. I will throw you out." None of that. He was very normal, very casual. And in just a few seconds, he was able to dissipate the situation. And then my colleague sat back on the table. We were all there. We all came in. And, we all put our arms around him and said, "Oh, no problem. Let's, work together. We are one team. Let's go make the next deal happen. It's okay. We will learn, right? We will find time, but today is not the day. We will dissect. We will try and figure out. We will analyze. We need to, so that it helps us in the future." So Sangvi, the message is that mentally we get disturbed. Many of us in our lives, in our careers. But we must remember that true strength lies within. At the end of the day, things always turn out well. That transaction may not happen. That specific interaction may be negative. You can't reverse that. but going forward, you can improve your own lot and improve the lot for everyone else. And I'll never forget what the manager said. It stayed with me. And this is a conversation which I recollect from the early 80s. So you can imagine, how old this conversation is, but it stuck in my mind that whenever I feel that the world is coming to an end, I look up and I remember my boss's words, the sky has not fallen.
Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us with your answer. It was such an inspiration to hear that.
Thank you, Sangvi, and all the best.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I think this can go on and on, but we have to keep the time constant in mind. So this unique ability of conveying a very strong message through this unique style of storytelling kept us intact with the television screen. We all feel like as if we have gone to our childhood, and we want to listen to your story on and on as much as we can. Thank you so much, sir, for this, for conveying such strong messages. And we will very strong message, that is an alignment between saying, doing, and thinking. That is the greatest takeaway from this session as far as I'm concerned. Thank you so much. And I further invite another moderator, Professor Manisha, to take up the session ahead. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Nutan, and thank you, Professor Pandey. Thank you very much for having me with you. I'd like to wish all the students all the very best. Thank you.